Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the day after, the night before, which was the shambles of Chelsea 1, Brighton 1. The title of this video today is Thomas Tuchel's biggest problem at Chelsea is this. And we're going to go into details about this. And the reason, well, the problem that Thomas Tuchel has, the biggest one, is that he has no idea who to play up front. It's not about who's good, who's bad, who isn't good enough, who's good enough, who's in form, who's out of form. Thomas Tuchel, I personally believe, does not know who to play up front game by game. When we look at Thomas Tuchel on the sidelines yesterday, he is a forlorn figure. For the first time, you can see that he's not animated. You can see that even though he knows that his team aren't playing very well, he's not there on the touchline the way he normally is, barking orders, giving people hand gestures that people seem to understand. At the moment, Thomas Tuchel looks like a lost figure. When you listen to him in his interview, I know it was kind of prodded in this direction by the BT Sport guys. It was very, very clear from Thomas Tuchel that he is tired. You can see it from his body language. You can see that the premeditated answers that all football managers very usually have. They already kind of know what they're going to be asked, and they already know how and what they're going to say in order to answer it. Thomas Tuchel yesterday, normally in the interviews, he is so witty and so smart with the words that he uses and the way that he formulates his sentences that he manages to avoid some of the sticky, aggressive questions that can come from journalists because they're trying to spark a manager or a player to say certain things. Now, we know with Chelsea players and, well, Chelsea managers in the past, we've seen some crazy interviews from Conte, Sarri, Mourinho, etc. But Chelsea players in particular are often very good with the media in terms of not saying anything that could stumble them up most of the time. Stumble them up, that's not really a phrase, is it? Apart from a certain striker who loves Sky and Italy, but we won't talk about that too much for now. Thomas Tuchel yesterday, he looked as though he was not beat, but as if he's taking a beating right now. And I mean that in the physical sense of results have not been very good, but also emotionally. And I think the bigger picture of knowing what happens at Chelsea is probably in the forefront of his mind right now, thinking, well, it doesn't matter what laurels we've got to rest on from being European champions, from winning the Super Cup. We were in another final. We're in a Club World Cup next month. Thomas Tuchel knows that Chelsea Football Club and the way that we operate is that if we aren't playing Champions League football, then we can't just sell 24 players or 25 players in the squad. The manager has to go. And the merry-go-round at Chelsea has been such a successful one for the club's ability to win trophies, to paper over cracks of internal things that seriously need to be addressed, that seriously need to change in order for Chelsea to ever seriously consider having stability at the club. And I use Manchester City as the perfect example. If Chelsea did not win that final, which I know it's hypothetical, but if Chelsea didn't win that final, we would be sat here right now with another sacked manager. I firmly believe that. If we didn't have that cushion of being champions of Europe and the way that Tuchel did it was just so brilliant. If he didn't have that, with this current run of form, he would be sacked. Based off of statistical history, that is the hypothesis we probably should be thinking about. So, Manchester City, even though they did not win that Champions League trophy last season, the pattern that Pep Guardiola has created at that club is now something that is patented to the club. It is now, not only because they've spent so much money, but the way that they recruit is always something that Pep Guardiola wants. Pep Guardiola gets his signing all of the time. He says, we don't need a striker. Gabriel Jesus is there. Foden can do it. De Bruyne can do it. The club's like, it's all good. We back you. We believe you. You've won us countless trophies. So therefore, Manchester City are a club who are as stable as Pep Guardiola's interest in managing them. If Pep Guardiola wanted to leave, they would probably struggle for a little while. But they've made a foundation over such a sustained period of time. And the recruitment has been so good at Manchester City that they wouldn't have this kind of problem right now. It would simply be a case of, well, is Guardiola tired of it? If they were down in third or fourth and not looking like they're going to win the league, would Guardiola just leave? Or would City ever sack Pep Guardiola? It's something that I think about quite often, if City would have won that Champions League, the gap between Chelsea and City right now would be painful to see. It would leave me as a Chelsea fan thinking, will we ever win anything major again? And I know that isn't the case. And I know that we have to, at times, use the fact that we're European champions to really vindicate why we'd want to back certain players, why we would want to still have maybe like we can't complain too much about an Alonso or Azpilicueta, whose performances have been poor because they've done so much for the club over the years. If we didn't have that European trophy, would that be our thought process right now? So, with all of that being said, you guys know that I fully back Thomas Tuchel, and I hope that the club see that the problem right now, the biggest problem, is not Tuchel himself. It is the fact that there are so many players vying for different positions, and after one cataclysmic media moment, we are now starting to see the rifts in this squad, the frustration from certain players. Our inability to celebrate goals now is something that we never saw under Lampard, something we never saw at the beginning of the season, and the disharmony makes the issue, which is the biggest one that we don't know who to start up front, it keeps on ticking over, because at the moment, relationships are sour. Relationships are not as tight. They're not as close as they once were. So when Thomas Tuchel is trying to manage tactically interplays and combinations on the field that we see in training, and when we see players shooting in training and it always goes top bins, they're the best clips of the day. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to finish our dinner when it's served in front of us in a match day, which at the moment is my biggest concern with every single one of our attacking players. Hakim Ziyech scored a great goal last night, but how many times have we seen Hakim Ziyech in great positions not being able to finish? How many times does Romelu Lukaku want to be pointing his fingers everywhere but not moving anywhere? How many times are we going to see Kai Havertz on the bench, or when he plays looking like he's not up to it? Which unfortunately, as brilliant as I believe Kai Havertz is, and that I know he's going to become as a footballer, he's too inconsistent. Mason Mount, he's not been playing every single game. He's had a few poor games recently too. I would say he is our most consistent player, but he's not even a winger or a striker. He's a number 8. So when we look at the numbers of players, and I haven't even gone through them all yet, Callum Hudson-Odoi, you guys know I think he's wonderful, but he cannot finish, and his last-minute decision-making is poor. Timo Werner, he can't finish either. And the problem is, I love Timo Werner, and this is the thing with the Chelsea team right now. There are players that are really likeable. There are players who are really not that likeable. And at the moment, it's the likeable players that aren't playing. And even if they were, do we believe they were good enough to actually do what we need the players who are on the pitch right now to do? I don't know. If Timo Werner started that game yesterday, do I think we would have won? No. As much as I think he probably deserves to be up front ahead of Romelu Lukaku, or Kai Havertz deserves to be up front ahead of Romelu Lukaku, do I think we would have won that game yesterday? No, because I think the biggest problem that we have right now is with this inability to consistently play with the same attacking lineup, we can forget about saying we've got no Chilwell, we've got no Reece James. That is the main reason why Chelsea were doing so well. Absolutely guaranteed. That is not even, to me, a point in question anymore. If these guys can't play for the rest of the season, we no longer are concerned about that. If the board aren't going to buy us a left wing back, it's Tuchel's job to pick a front line. And at the moment, there isn't anybody in that front line who is giving him, I didn't even speak about Pulisic, but Pulisic inconsistent too, been playing out of position so much, so maybe we can give him a bit more leeway. But when he came on, well, didn't come on, he started the game against City, but what did he do? He did absolutely nothing. So right now, Thomas Tuchel needs to work out exactly what front three we're going to go with. And I think he's got to stick with it for a couple of games. Give them the opportunity to create those combinations. Give these guys 2 or 3 games in a row to play with one another. And the 3 that I think that should be at this moment in time is Kai Havertz, Mason Mount and Timo Werner. And I think it is Timo Werner on the left, Kai Havertz through the middle and Mason Mount on the right. It's what won Chelsea the Champions League, and I think at this moment in time we are talking about who deserves it, who needs to be given a chance. We keep giving chance here, chance there, a little bit of this, little bit of that, and it doesn't work. And now what I want to see, at least as a fan, are players on the field who clearly really want to play for Chelsea. Timo Werner, in an interview this week, has said he doesn't understand why fans love him so much, because he's not been scoring, he's been missing so many chances. To me, that is the kind of attitude that we need to go with now. We need to use Mason Mount every game, whether you think he's in good form or not, and whether you think because he's English and we follow each other on Instagram, I've got a special spot for Mason Mount. Okay, yeah, I do really like the keys. I think he's wonderful as a footballer, as a bloke. But still, I still think he deserves to be in this team as an attacker over anybody else at this moment in time. And Kai Havertz, I just really believe in him. I think if we gave him a run of games, I think Kai Havertz is going to come good. And at the moment, Werner, Havertz, and Mason Mount, I almost said Lukaku, is the three that I think has the most chance of solving Thomas Tuchel's biggest issue right now, which is Chelsea cannot win games because we do not score more goals than our opponents. Yes, there are plenty of other things that could come as a result of doing that. Lukaku doesn't want to play, he keeps kicking up a fuss, creates more rifts in the dressing room, and then we have to try and sell him for half of what we bought him for in the summer. Could happen. Very, very seriously could happen. But right now, we need to change something drastically. Incredibly drastically. And I think going with the front three that won us the Champions League, bringing back those players that really want to be at Chelsea and give everything. That's what we need right now. Especially as fans, that's what I need. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is Thomas Tuchel's biggest problem right now? I've given you my thoughts, and I'm filming a couple of podcasts this week. 3 more points. It's going to be the first episodes of the year. So have your thoughts in the comments. I'll go through some of your comments with the guests that we're going to be bringing on. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't watched 6 Things We Learnt yet, where I talk in a bit more detail about last night's game, link is in the description. It's the last video on the channel. Thank you guys for watching. See you all later. Come on, you Blues.